Good evening. Glad to see everybody here. This is George with Truck Driver Nation. This webinar is going to be about an hour and 36 minutes. So if you're not serious about doing this, there's no sense in wasting your time. That being said, if you get serious to the further point, please reach back out to us. But for those that are actually going to be here for the duration of the presentation, I'd like to welcome you aboard. Break out your pen and paper, make your notes so you get the full effect of knowing the benefits, the pros and the cons of deciding one, do you want to actually be a freight dispatcher that works from home? And two, do you want to actually use Truck Driver Nation as the service to help you accomplish that goal? But anyways, outside that, I'm not going to hold you up. Let's keep on moving along so we can get to the end, so we can get to the questions and answers section at the end and fill in the rest of the questions you might have so you can get a complete picture.
All right, folks, before we get rolling, I want to explain something real quick. You're going to notice that a lot of this presentation is being delivered through text to speech instead of me personally sitting here narrating every single slide. Now, there's a reason for that. When I start talking about freight dispatching, trucking, recruiting carriers, building relationships, rates, negotiations, and everything else that goes along with this industry, I tend to go down a few rabbit trails. Not because I'm trying to waste anybody's time. It's because I've spent years dealing with this stuff in the real world. And every topic usually reminds me of a story, a lesson learned the hard way, a mistake somebody made, or a situation that happened out on the road. Before you know it, what should have been a 5-minute lesson turns into a 30-minute conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, those conversations can be valuable. But for this presentation, I wanted to keep things moving. I wanted to give you the information in a way that's straightforward, organized, and easy to follow. It isn't to impress you with fancy words. My goal is to help you understand how this business actually works, not the social media version, not the sales pitch version, the real version. Throughout this presentation, we're going to cover freight dispatching, working with carriers, finding owner operators, building relationships, handling operations, understanding numbers, and making business decisions that actually matter. Everything you're about to see is designed to help you understand the opportunities that exist in this industry and how successful dispatch operations are built from the ground up. Some of this information may challenge things you've heard before. Some of it may confirm what you already know. Either way, I encourage you to keep an open mind and focus on understanding the bigger picture because dispatching isn't just about booking loads. It's about solving problems. It's about communication. It's about relationships. And it's about helping carriers make money while building a business that lasts. So sit back, pay attention if you need to, and let's get into it. I appreciate every one of you taking the time to be here. Now let's talk about freight dispatching. All right, let me tell y'all something. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they look at freight dispatching is they automatically assume they aren't qualified. They think, well, I've never driven a truck, or they'll say, I don't know anything about logistics. Or maybe they look at somebody that's been in trucking for 20 years and convince themselves they're already behind before they even get started. The truth is that's not how this works. Now, don't get me wrong. We've got plenty of truck drivers that come through our training. Some of them have spent years on the road. They've hauled freight all over this country. They understand trucking from the driver's seat. And for a lot of them, dispatching becomes a way to stay in the industry without having to live in a truck anymore. But here's what surprises a lot of people. Some of our best students never drove a truck a day in their life. We've had people come from convenience stores, retail, school teachers, nurses, real estate, and insurance, which amazes me personally. We've had people working office jobs, warehouse jobs, customer service jobs, and just everything else you can imagine. And you know what I've noticed over the years? Sometimes the people with the least experience end up becoming some of the most successful. Why? Because they're ready to make a solid and permanent change. That opportunity, they're willing to learn and listen, and they're willing to put in the work in an industry that has taken care of me for over 30 years at this point. A lot of times that's more valuable than experience because I can teach somebody how freight moves and make that money. I can teach somebody how to negotiate, how to communicate with carriers and brokers, and how to build relationships. What I can't teach is hunger and have that dedication they will give 100% to succeed. And I can guarantee you 100% you will win with us. I can't teach somebody to care or somebody to want a better future for themselves and their family. That's something they've got to bring with them. And the people who show up hungry usually do pretty well around here. Now, when we built the training, we didn't build it for one type of person. We built it for the truck driver trying to get off the road. We built it for single parent looking for a new opportunity. We built it for the person who's tired of working a job that has no future. We built it for the person who's sitting there right now wondering if there's something better out there for them. Because the reality is most people don't need another job. They need a skill. They need something they can learn, develop, and build upon. That's what freight dispatching gives you. You're learning an actual business skill that's used every single day in the transportation industry, and you're learning it step by step. Nobody's expecting you to wake up tomorrow and know everything. Look, if you've been in trucking 20 years, you still don't know everything. I'm still learning things because the industry changes every day. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. The goal is helping you understand the industry, understand the process, and develop the confidence to do the work. Because once you start understanding how freight moves, how carriers operate, how brokers think, and how dispatching actually works, something starts to click. You stop looking at it as some complex industry that only a few people can understand. You start realizing it's a skill just like anything else. And skills can be learned. That's why I tell people all the time, don't disqualify yourself before you ever give yourself a chance. If you've got the willingness to learn, if you're coachable, if you're willing to work, and if you're serious about creating opportunities for yourself, you've already got a lot of what it takes. Everything else we can help you with. That's what Truck Driver Nation is here for. We're here to meet you where you are, not where somebody else is, not where you think you should be, where you are right now. Then we're going to help you build from there. Because a lot of people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity. The funny thing is, sometimes the opportunity has been sitting right in front of them the whole time. They just needed somebody to show them where to look, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Most people want success, but they don't want the sacrifice that comes with it. Freight dispatching rewards the people who keep learning, keep prospecting, and keep showing up long after the excitement wears off. The truth is, success doesn't belong to the people who get excited for a few days. It belongs to the people who stay committed when things get difficult. A year from now, you can still be wondering if you should have started, or you can be looking at the results of the decision you make today. The choice is yours. Let's break this down using real numbers so you can actually see what this could look like. If you're dispatching 10 semi-trucks, and each truck is averaging between $8,500 and $11,500 per week in gross revenue, you're operating within a strong and realistic range seen throughout this industry. At a standard 10% dispatch rate, that means you're earning approximately $850 to $1,150 per truck per week. Now multiply that by 10 trucks. That's roughly $8,500 to $11,500 per week in revenue, which puts you at approximately $34,000 to $46,000 per month. Now ask yourself, what would that level of income do for your life? Would it help pay off debt? Would it remove the pressure of living paycheck to paycheck? Would it finally give you room to breathe instead of constantly stressing about money? Would it change the way you show up for your family every day? Because at that point, you're no longer just trying something new. You're building something that has the potential to completely change your financial future. And the truth is simple. The trucks are already on the road. The freight is already moving. The money is already changing hands every single day. The only question is whether you're going to position yourself to get paid from it. If you're serious, stay in this webinar. We're going to show you how the system works and what it takes to build and manage dispatch clients the right way. If you're not ready to commit to learning a real skill and putting in the work, this probably isn't for you. But if you're ready to build something that can replace your current income or possibly exceed it, then you're in the right place. Now let's talk about what this really means beyond the numbers. Because money is just the tool. What it really changes is your day-to-day life. It's about waking up without that constant pressure sitting on your chest. That feeling of wondering how you're going to make it through another month. It's about being able to provide differently. Not just paying bills, but actually doing things for your family without stress attached to every decision. It's being able to say yes when your kids need something for school without having to calculate what bill you're going to sacrifice to make it happen. It's being able to help your household breathe a little easier. And it's personal. It's about having more control over your time, not feeling trapped in survival mode, not feeling like every week starts over at zero. When people step into freight dispatching and truly commit to learning the skill, the first thing that changes isn't always the income. It's the mindset. You stop focusing on what you can't afford, and you start focusing on what you can build. So ask yourself honestly, would this reduce stress in your home? Would it create more opportunities for your family? Would it make your future feel more stable than it does right now? Would it give you more control over your life? Because if the answer is yes, then this opportunity isn't just about trucks moving freight. It's about what your life can look like when you're no longer stuck choosing between bills, stress, and survival. And that journey begins with a decision to learn, a decision to commit, and a decision to take action. Now let me be completely honest with you. Freight dispatching is not for everyone. If you're looking for easy money, this probably isn't the place for you. If you're looking for a business where you never have to learn, never have to communicate with people, never have to solve problems, and never have to put in effort, you're going to be disappointed. Because dispatching requires responsibility. It requires consistency. It requires learning, and it requires action. The trucks are already moving. The freight is already moving. The opportunity already exists. The question isn't whether freight dispatching works. The question is whether you're willing to do what it takes to make it work for you. So here's what I'd like you to do. Take a moment and be honest with yourself. Are you here because you're curious, or are you here because you're committed? Because those are two very different things. If you're simply curious, there's nothing wrong with that. But this webinar probably won't change your life. If you're committed to learning a skill, building relationships, putting in the work, and creating a different future for yourself and your family, then stay with me. Because the rest of this webinar is designed for you. And by the end of it, you'll have a much clearer understanding of exactly what it takes to build a freight dispatching business the right way. Let's get started. Hashtag, what this can look like for you, in real time. Before we show you exactly how Truck Driver Nation helps you get there, let's talk about what this can actually look like if you decide to take this seriously. Every student starts from a different place. Some have trucking experience, some have sales experience, and some have never been involved in transportation at all. But one thing stays the same. The freight is already moving. The trucks are already on the road, and the opportunity already exists. What surprises most people is how quickly they can start understanding the business. Many students complete the core training in as little as 1 to 3 weeks. Some move faster. Some take a little longer. It all depends on the time, effort, and focus they put into learning the system. And here's what matters most. You don't have to wait until you know everything before you start building momentum. We've had students who focused on learning first. We've had students who started talking to owner-operators almost immediately. There is no perfect timeline. There is only action. The people who move forward are the people who start. In trucks, we're talking about trucks, where every truck represents an owner-operator or carrier that you're helping dispatch. As you add more clients, your income potential grows. Most people don't start with 10 trucks. They start with 1, then another, then another. And before long, they've built something they never thought was possible. A typical dispatch client may generate approximately 1 truck, $850 to $1,150 per week, 3 trucks, $2,550 to $3,450 per week, 5 trucks, $4,250 to $5,750 per week, 10 trucks, $8,500 to $11,500 per week. Monthly revenue at 10 trucks, approximately $34,000 to $46,000 per month. And here's the truth. Those numbers are not the ceiling. They're simply examples of what growth can look like. We've trained students who are earning far beyond those numbers. Some have built dispatch operations larger than they ever imagined. Some have achieved results that exceeded their original goals. The difference wasn't luck. The difference was action. Because at the end of the day, this industry doesn't care where you came from. It doesn't care what job you had before. It doesn't care whether you started yesterday or 5 years ago. What matters is whether you're willing to learn, apply what you're taught, and keep moving forward. So now imagine where you could be 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now. The trucks are moving. The freight is moving. The opportunity is already here. Now let us show you exactly how Truck Driver Nation helps you take advantage of it. Truck Driver Nation offers 3 paths to success as a freight dispatcher. Please pay attention to ensure you are not misleading yourself. By the end of this webinar, you're going to understand that there are 3 possible paths available within the freight dispatching industry. As we go through today's presentation, I want you to start thinking about which path best fits your goals, your lifestyle, and your long-term plans. Path number 1. Work for one of our carrier partners. Truck Driver Nation operates as a recruiting and staffing organization within the trucking industry. We recruit truck drivers, freight dispatchers, recruiters, and other transportation professionals for carriers we represent. If your goal is employment, one option may be to apply with one of our carrier partners. However, it is important to understand that Truck Driver Nation does not make hiring decisions for those carriers. Each carrier has its own requirements, qualifications, experience standards, and hiring process. Just like truck drivers, freight dispatchers must meet the carrier's individual requirements to be considered for employment. Because of this, attendance at this webinar or enrollment in any training program does not guarantee employment with any carrier. Path number 2. Work with Truck Driver Nation. Some people ask whether they can work with Truck Driver Nation directly. The answer is yes, but only under very specific circumstances. We maintain high standards and only bring on individuals who have demonstrated professionalism, commitment, reliability, and a genuine passion for the logistics industry. For that reason, we do not simply hire people after attending a webinar. We want to see a proven track record first. We want to know that logistics is truly the right fit for you, and we want you to know that we're the right fit for you as well. Many of the people who eventually work with Truck Driver Nation first complete training, demonstrate their abilities, and earn our confidence over time. These opportunities are selective, full-time only, and are never guaranteed. Path number 3. Build your own freight dispatch service. For many people, this becomes the most attractive option. After learning the skills, systems, and processes used by professional freight dispatchers, many graduates choose to launch their own independent freight dispatch service. This path offers the greatest flexibility because it can be started part-time or full-time. Many of our students come from completely different industries, including education, healthcare, insurance, customer service, recruiting, and sales. Others are former truck drivers or logistics professionals looking to transition into a new role. Regardless of your background, if you've never worked as a freight dispatcher before, training is essential. Freight dispatching is a professional skill that must be learned and developed. Our training programs are designed to provide the knowledge, systems, support, and ongoing mentorship needed to help you succeed. Important notice: Truck Driver Nation does not guarantee employment with any carrier, company, or organization. Participation in this webinar, enrollment in training, or completion of training does not guarantee employment with Truck Driver Nation or any carrier partner. Hiring decisions are made solely by the employer involved. Our role is to provide training, education, recruiting opportunities, industry guidance, and ongoing support so you can choose the path that best fits your goals. As we continue through today's presentation, keep these 3 paths in mind and start thinking about which direction makes the most sense for your future.
Okay, so before I jump off into this calculator, because you need to know, obviously, before we even get going, where are you going to make money as a freight dispatcher? Okay, this is what it looks like right now in 2026. And I'm going to put it in my own slang terms, like I do everything. If you suck at it, that low end, you're going to lose your owner operators, guaranteed. Normal weekly, you're in that balance. They'll stay with you, but they're not going to be particularly happy. High end, that's where I try to stay. I try to stay in between that normal weekly and that high end weekly, because I know for a minimum, I've got to maintain my trucks at every single week at $8,500 a week. If they're out there for that complete week, I've got to generate that 8,500. Do I like that 11,000? I can even get up to 12,000 some weeks on some trucks, just depending where they are in the freight lanes. So that being said, I'm going to show you the calculator. I'm just going to show you step deck. If you want to go back these and actually play with the calculator, it's in our website. I think it's under career options, and you can go in there and play with it. But for this particular presentation, we're going to concentrate on step deck, sticking in between that normal and high weekly rate right there, so you understand where your money's coming from. But obviously, pick out whichever type of trailer you like, and that'll be the one you're focused on. So what you can do is go into the website and go to the career options and go to the freight dispatcher revenue projection tool. There's a video right there at the top that will give you directions. So there's three main steps that we're going to put in here. One, like I said, I do flatbed and step deck. So I'm going to click on flatbed and step deck. Right now, I'm actually doing around 10 trucks now, because obviously I've got some more trucks since I actually started doing this. And we do part-time trucks too. This is only my full-time people, and all of them are solo. Every one of them got their own equipment. Now, coming down, financial parameters. This is actually number 2 is going to be financial parameters. This is going to be what we're actually averaging gross per week. I average more than $8,500 for most weeks for each one of my trucks, but I'm going to leave it at the worst case scenario so you understand what the worst you should see as far as your overall gross revenue or net revenue that you should be pulling in for yourself. Okay. That being said, I'm gonna leave it 8,500. Everybody, I charge 10%. If you don't have more than one truck, you're not getting my services for less than 10%. Now, on my part-time trucks where I'm just sending them loads, that means I'm not dispatching them like a full-time freight dispatcher. I'm simply giving them freight. They take it, they deal with the brokers, they do all the paperwork. For those, I actually charge 5%. Sometimes I'll go down as far as 4%, but my full-time trucks that I've got right now, every single one of them get charged 10%. The next thing you're going to set in position is going to be your business model and scale. This is where you've got to make a decision. Are you going to just do everything yourself, or do you want to outsource? Now, you can obviously hire people from the United States. I wouldn't do it. On my best day, I wouldn't do it. I would actually hire from outside the United States, and that's what we can assist you with. And the reason why, because it saves you so much money. But anyways, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into here. I'm going to actually show you what I'm actually doing, because I don't dispatch my own trucks. So right here, I'm using Filipino. They've actually got, I think the guy I've got, it's got 8 years experience right now. But that being said, I pay him $800 a month. And you can obviously say you can pick it out as beginner, intermediate, or expert. But my person's, I just consider him intermediate, because I still have to actually have a separate VA to assist him in some of his work, because he just ain't that experienced. Now, you can get full experienced ones for $800, but just depends on what you negotiate personally with that freight dispatcher. The next things I'm coming down to is continue to dispatch personally. That's if I'm going to dispatch myself. I don't have time to dispatch. I monitor the TMS and everything, because I use the software that I've got. It lets me follow every single thing they're doing, every single thing that they're doing every second of the day. So that being said, you can check this if you want to. That means you're going to dispatch. I'm not going to dispatch, so I'm going to leave it unchecked. I have one person that works for me that handles only my full-time owner operators that we freight dispatch for. For the ones I do part-time, I actually have another, I actually don't even use a freight dispatcher. I use a VA. I trained them on how to actually do dispatching just to send the loads out, because they're not going to have to do any of the back-end paperwork. So that makes it where I don't have to pay a full-time freight dispatcher. I think I paid $325 a month for the VA just to send loads out, because I got 17 other trucks and they send them out to those trucks, and then they take whatever freight that they want off the board. The next thing I do, this is coming back. Now, this is based on what I already set up here at the top. So we already set our parameters that was 10 trucks, and then I'm actually using a freight dispatcher. So what I do here is this is going to be my annual gross revenue. That means my net. This is going to be what I actually bring home a year. Actually, I do better than this, okay? But I set this on the lowest possible settings there were. So in case you suck at this when you first get started, because some of you guys are new, you've never been exposed to this, this is what you should say minimum if you do step deck. Now, actually, my monthly net, if I use the scenario that we set up, 25,000. My weekly net, which is about 6,000. Obviously, remember, these are really crappy numbers. I would be ashamed of myself if I did this. But then again, I've got 30 years experience. But that being said, over outsourcing advantage, by me using a Filipino versus me actually hiring from the United States, I save over $70,000 because I'm paying them almost $80,000. Why should I pay them that when I can actually pay them $9,600 for the whole year? That's what I pay for my labor to dispatch for me for the whole year. But anyways, that coming down, after you come past this, you'll come down to here, weekly, monthly, and annual. So this is my real numbers. So on the week, based on this scenario, not my real numbers, my numbers are better than this, but based on the scenario we set up, the weekly amount you should be generate off of this setup would be $8,500 a week. That's before your overhead and all those given factors. The next thing, your monthly is about 36,000. God, I hate putting these numbers out here because you can do so much better than this. But anyways, just roll with the punches, okay? Annual, about $500,000. So say $450,000. So that being said, we come down here. This is how you get a hold of us, by the way. And I would suggest that you actually just go into the homepage. Just click me on Telegram. That is direct access to me if you know you want to sign up. If you're just wanting to ask a bunch of questions and you're a tire kicker, I'm not a salesman. I could give a shit what you do. I could care if you failed, if you're just running around asking questions. I'm only looking for people that are ready to actually make a move and to do this. That's the only people I'm here to help, because I get people chewing up my time, and my time is worth money. So that being said, please keep that in mind. I'm only looking for people that want to be successful and actually do exactly what I do. But financial blueprint, so when we're looking at this, we're looking at these overhead expenses. These overhead expenses, I put them in here just so you know kind of what they look like. Most of this overhead, you don't even have to have. Inside the course, we actually give you this stuff for free. It will tell you which application it is. Website, they have applications, right? For you that have never taken computer science. And inside that, beside it, it has free. That means you can go in there and use that software or whatever it is absolutely for free. Or let's say, for example, your load boards, the owner operator already has his own load board, because remember, we're only dealing with people that have their own MC number. I do not, no way, form or fashion, once I got finished being an owner operator, I no longer carry a BOC3 or insurance, so I don't have an MC. So that being said, let that be understood. But anyways, in fact, if you decide that you want to work for me, you will be, we'll go over that later. Sorry, let me stick to the course material. But anyways, this overhead here, you can actually get rid of all this. Now, I did set taxes at 25%. That's the reason this is taken out as well. So this is like if you're paying your federal taxes. If you're actually good enough, you can actually handle this in a way which will resolve the tax issues. But that being said, that's what this looks like. And these same numbers that you're seeing right here, the gross operating expenses, okay? This is based on a weekly, monthly, and yearly. Okay. That being said, the same net income that you saw up at the top, based on the scenario that we set up, that's exactly what you're seeing here again at the 5,000, the 25,000, and the 304,000. So we go on down, and believe it or not, that's it. There's a lot more into these website. If you go to Truck Driver Nation, make sure to visit, really go in there and spend time with it. But anyways, that's how you actually figure out what you would make per truck. So go in there and play with it. The numbers are actually factual. Check all my numbers. You can do a lot of things. You can't change numbers. So make sure to check everything that obviously I'm telling you about, what this is. When you go into here, remember, go to career options, and then you're going to go down to, give me a second, go down here to the freight dispatcher revenue projection tool. That's what you're looking for to obviously be able to play with that and to make sure that you're getting what you need out of it. But anyways, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, I'm throwing this in here, and that's the reason I try to use, text to speech conversion, because you're going to see why now. But I want to throw this in here something because I need to bring something open to your eyes, that people that are, because we get a lot of teachers, nurses, people that, their husbands, they either own trucks or whatever it is. But what you need to look at, if you're looking at what other people are making, because you got to make a decision whether this is going to be your move. You got insurance agents, real estate, teachers, whatever it is, they're only generating on average. It's pretty bad. In fact, I don't want to poke at it because I was a nurse and paramedic too before I ever got into logistics. And this was unintentional on my behalf that I was going to stay in this industry this long. But that being said, as you can see, even for the truck drivers, because this was mainly built for truck drivers, it's not good, guys. I mean, even a strong owner operator making 300,000 a year, and that's going to be, I guarantee you, running more than one truck. In fact, I know it's going to be more, running more than one truck. Unless you're doing some specialized something for the government or something, you're not going to see 300,000 unless you're doing like RGN or something like that. And the whole point is, you got to keep enough freight. Now, as a freight dispatcher, if you look to the right here, it's going to show you freight dispatcher employed by company. Average start out is 40,000 to 65,000. Experience is 75,000 to 85,000. Now, this is what I'm wanting to talk to you. I know y'all think, oh my God, he don't want to help me get a job. If you want to go to work for these people, I will damn well help you out in every way that you want to. You go to work for them, okay? They got a hell of a turnover rate, because the thing is, for the amount of work that you're going to do, you're going to realize, man, I'm doing all the work and I'm not getting paid a fraction of what the revenue is, because that's the whole thing behind this, to understand what are you getting your bang for your buck. Okay, as far as freight dispatching, man, look, I give a damn if you use this or not. I'm not here to sell you. I mean, go down the road and come back just like everybody else. I keep hearing, I took a freight dispatch course and now I don't know how to do it. But that being said, and I know this is early in the presentation to be selling y'all, or telling you, trying to sell you on the concept of what you need to understand versus what industry you're in, and to quantify what I'm trying to get you to. Okay, everybody can do exactly what I'm doing. So that being said, we're just going to use an independent dispatcher without outsourcing. Okay, if you look at it, even I've got a video coming up that's inside this video that's going to show you how to use the calculator inside truckdrivernation.com. I know this is a lot of people. I mean, this is a lot of money to a lot of people. But that being said, doing it yourself, you're only going to make $28,000 to $38,000 a month bring home. Okay, you can literally scale it up and make a lot more than this, because once you figure out how you're making money, you're not going to be happy with the $25,000 to about $40,000 bring home a month. But by scaling it, because we actually give you outsourced freight dispatchers, if you choose, depending on which way you're approaching us and the way you need our help. If you look at it, the capacity model, and which is minimal, you can do more than 8 trucks, because the way the industry's changed, you can do that now. But that's going to be you doing 8 trucks, and then you use an outsourced freight dispatcher to do 8 trucks. So you got somebody that works for you. So now you're doing a total of 16 trucks, because it doesn't cost nothing to hire an outsourced freight dispatcher. $800 a month. I couldn't wipe my ass with $800 a month. It's not going to do nothing for you. So for somebody to cry about that when you realize what they're making you. So let's say, for example, because I only do the model of step decks because that's what I do. But per step deck, you're looking at basically, this is per truck per month. Per truck per month. You're looking at about $3,200 to $4,800 per truck that you're making per month. Now, the total overall aspect of it is 16 trucks, making that range between $3,200 and $48, because if you cannot keep the revenue on these trucks the way it has to be, and you'll see that in the calculator, they're going to straight up leave your ass. They're not going to play around with you. Their only commitment is the contract that you're helping them keep their truck loaded. But that being said, that with an outsourced freight dispatcher, now your income is coming up to $51,000 to $76,000 per month. For the you that have actually seen money in life, okay, we know that this is really possible, but it's not the possibility of making this. I'm trying to get you to understand that's just adding one onto it, one outsourced freight dispatcher. Can you see how that can accumulate real fast? Because, okay, he's got 8 or he's got 10 trucks. I need another freight dispatcher. And then I give you another one. And then I give you another one. Do you see how it can go up? Now, remember, you got to enjoy life. Don't micromanage this shit because it's a hardship. Now, all I can tell you is I've been doing this a long, long, long time. And if I had to re-choose my path in life because I was a truck driver first, I probably would have went a different route. If I just didn't know no better, I just wanted out of medicine. I was tunnel vision. I just tired of wiping asses, tired of dealing with people dying, the whole negativity that comes along with that. Very few success stories of people, because I always did critical care, of walking out. They're usually going to die when I was seeing them, and that sucks. But that was my choice. But in this field, I took it on in the same aspect of what this actually is. So the money's there. Now, this is the point that I'm putting in place for you that people don't realize. You see the 75%, the 20%, and the 3 to 6%. I'm not candy coating this. 75% of y'all will fail because you didn't give a shit before you walked through the door. Okay? It's your call. What do you want to do with yourself? Get off the webinar right now if you can't put yourself dedicated to this because you're wasting your time, and you could actually end up hurting some owner operators, causing them to lose their equipment. So 75% of y'all are losers. 20% of you are going to make it. That means you're going to kill it. You're going to do real well. And even out of that 20% over time, you're going to get better and better. All right. The 3 to 6% are the people that are just like me. You see the numbers, you understand the precept or the whole concept, how it interacts, how it works inside of an industry that doesn't stop even when you're asleep. Even when you're asleep, you get it. Okay. For you guys, welcome aboard. Hopefully I will actually be networking with you permanently because y'all are the same type of people that I am. Yes, I've got 30 something years in it because I'm not changing my industry. I'll do this to the day I die. And that's just it. This is what I do. But that being said, for you guys that are coming in that are coming out of the truck, I know some of you got bad taste in your mouth because of what's happened to you in trucking because you kept saying it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. I did that for 24 years. I was a horse with blinders on because I wasn't inside the office. Even though I was dispatching my own trucks, I couldn't get the clarity on this because there was no formal training. There wasn't a business school that I went to. I went to paramedic school and I went to nursing school. That's it. Okay. But that being said, I hope this gives you some insight before we get too far in this program of presenting what we can help you with or whatever you're going to do. Now, look, if you're an experienced freight dispatcher, you know, you guys don't even need this. You see what you can do. You know it's a fact. Go ahead and do it. You know, you don't need me. Now, if obviously you want to work with me, I'd love to have you because I love making money with people that work with me. But that being said, we'll get to that point when we cross it. But if you already got experience and you want to go be sent to a carrier and you want to work for them, then all you got to do is just send your resume to American Logistics Authority. Literally, you got to send it there. I know a lot of y'all went through these job apps and sent them. We don't even see those things. We don't even go in there and look for them. We only want the people that are, because remember, there's a lot of people full of crap. So send your resume directly to us. Type. Tell me what you actually want me to do for you, and we can do that right now. But that being said, hang in there. See how I told you, I get too far base. This is the reason I put it into the text to speech. It just makes it quicker. Sorry about delaying your time. But anyways, let's move on forward, and I hope you understand this. If not, make sure you ask questions at the end. If it's not me at the end, a lot of the other people that work with me may or may not understand, what this is, because I've been in the industry so long. I know how this works. This is what I make these days. Actually, I do better than this. But this being said, it's not just a career change. It is damn well a life-changing aspect of this. Look here, the math's here. Take the math, screenshot this, because it's sitting here right now. Screenshot it. Stick this in whatever you need to do and break this down. so you see the clarity of what I'm trying to show you. All right, you don't know me, but take this and do your homework, and then if you need to come back later, come back later. But put this to the test. All right. But anyways, outside that, let's move on forward, guys.
What Truck Driver Nation actually gives you. Most training programs give you information. Most people finish the training, get a certificate, and realize they still have no clients, no support, no systems, and no idea what to do next. That's not how we built Truck Driver Nation. We built this around one question. What does somebody actually need to build a real freight dispatching business? Not what sounds good in a commercial, not what looks good on a website, what they actually need. Step 1. Learn the skill. We start with virtual textbooks and video modules. Learn anywhere, at your own pace. You'll understand finding freight, negotiating rates, load boards, managing drivers, paperwork, carrier relationships. Confidence comes from competence. Step 2. Ongoing support. Most courses disappear after payment. We don't. You get live webinars and ongoing education because freight, markets, and problems always change. Access to active industry support helps you keep growing long after training. Step 3. 90-day completion. You have up to 90 days. No rushing. Most students have jobs, families, responsibilities. We let you learn properly. Relationship focus. Step 4. Industry connections. Knowledge matters. Connections matter more. We connect you with people, opportunities, and resources. Success is not just what you know, it's who you know. Step 5. Build a team. Stop doing everything alone. We show you how to use virtual assistants and dispatch support when scaling. Focus on growth, not overload. Step 6. 2 income skills. You don't learn one skill, you learn 2. Freight dispatcher, driver recruiter. More value equals more opportunity. Step 7. Done-for-you systems. We provide scripts, templates, processes, systems. No starting from scratch. Step 8. Real-world lessons. We share lessons from real mistakes, real deals, real problems. This saves months or years of trial and error. Step 9. Flexible payments. We make entry accessible with flexible payment options. Step 10. Owner-operators. Most programs stop at training. We don't. We help source owner-operators so you can actually build relationships and start working. No trucks equals no dispatching business. We help with both. Step 11. Company drivers. We connect you with drivers to expand. Credibility, network, recruiting opportunities. Relationships drive trucking. The bottom line. It's not one course. It's the combination. Training, support, certification, systems, relationships, recruiting, real opportunities. We don't just teach information. We help you build something real. Because the goal isn't certificates. It's income, skills, and opportunity that lasts.
Let me give you some facts about being a freight dispatcher and why you do have this position to begin with. Owner operators, they really are truck drivers. They actually just want to drive their truck. They don't want to dispatch. They have a lot of burden on their shoulders to just keep managing not to even getting wrecks out there. So what you need to understand is truckers earn money for being on the road, not at a desk. Dispatching obviously needs time, negotiation, paperwork, and communication, pulling for them from driving. Okay, that pulling them from driving definitely slows down their overall productivity, and that's where you come in. If they had a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever it might have been on the back end to support them in this aspect, they wouldn't be reaching out to you and needing your services. And brokers don't always prioritize drivers. And not even that, even the dispatchers don't always prioritize drivers. So drivers accept low paying loads due to time, or the info gaps. Remember, they have to negotiate these rates. It's not like you can just stop for 30 minutes, make a quick judgment on a low board, and be able to pull that freight. Sometimes it might take 6 or 7 calls, and what if they got more than one truck? That's the whole point behind it. These days, if you wreck that truck, good chance they're going to see some prison time if anybody's actually killed. Also, in addition, because you're there all the time doing this, they have a better chance of getting better lanes that are more profitable, instead of just struggling with the low boards and obviously the gaps that come in with these rates based on the area that they're in. Um, Now, dispatchers do work for the drivers, securing better freight and reducing downtime. And the downtime aspect is going to be that they can go and pre-schedule everything. Because let's say that an owner-operator schedules a load, gets there, and it's not set on an appointment, and it had to be on an appointment. Now they got to reschedule an appointment and sit there and wait. That's one of the dilemmas. That's what you, as a freight dispatcher, we will teach you how to cover, and that's only one base. We'll teach you how to cover all these bases that can cause transportation delays. So, and also a fragmented freight market. There is a lot of brokers out there, and I mean, there's a lot of low boards. So it's hard for one, owner operator to be able to handle all of that. It depends on how many low boards they're going to be using. And with dispatchers, you've got time to look at the market, look at what's going on day to day, listen to the brokers, and all those things when you're actually doing this. And so when you're actually talking to your owner operator in whatever given instance, you can give him the skinny of what's going on instead of him just seeing one message and assuming that's the way everything is swinging. So that is the reason why it really is a necessary market for freight dispatchers. Okay, why is working from home as a freight dispatcher and being a digital nomad or expat or just somebody that wants to run around the United States so great? A digital nomad is somebody just runs around in general. Expat, you live outside the United States. And why is it so great? Man, I don't have to be nowhere in particular at any given point. Okay. I'm sure you saw the slide, or maybe I had that slide, maybe it hasn't come up yet, where I'm showing you where I live at. You can do the exact same thing I'm doing. I mean, I'm not here to boast, but I'm gonna tell you this much: I pay pennies on the dollar. So if you can leave the United States, you can do this from wherever you're at, live like a king, and really enjoy your life. But also the advantage it gives me when I go back home, because obviously I live in the United States. But the point is, I get to go sit with my mother. My father's no longer around, so that means I get to spend that real quality time with my brother. I mean, with my mother, even though when my brother's turn to show up, I'm the jealous type too, because I got 4 brothers, so we're all fighting for her attention. But thing is, that's the great part about this. So if you need to know the problems I faced outside the United States, like needing a generator, needing internet, those type of things, please ask me in the webinar and I will tell you, exactly what you're facing when it comes to that. But absolutely, this is what we're all doing it for, making great money, but being able to do it where we want to be at. Now, obviously, you still got to stay within the time constraints of the operating hours of freight dispatching, but outside that, you're a free bird. You can be at a beach, at a cafe, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing your job and you're helping your owner operators. Essential tools that you're going to have to work from home doing this as a work from home logistics professional. You're going to need the computer, high speed internet, noise canceling headset, and a smartphone. I only added the extra things in here because I got expats and digital nomads. You're going to need that power backup and that surge protector and obviously a comfortable workspace. This is the only picture that you're going to have in this, and this is the reason I did it here because this is actually me. This is obviously down there. That's my dog. That's Juju, and I've got 3 monitors. That is a laptop, and I got little fold-out screens that clip onto the back of it. And I set myself up. That is a tablet that I have set to the right of me, and I use it as reference points and stuff like that. Right there, it looks like I was probably messing with a movie at some point because sometimes I just need a break to just sit back and look at everything. But get you a nice little spot, set it up, and obviously I don't have kids running around, but I'm blessed because obviously, look, I got the ocean right across the street, so I slide the front doors open and just sit here and chill and look at the ocean. And I know that it was, oh, that's your dream job. You find you a place that you can call your own. The noise canceling headset, there's motorcycles, there's cars, all that's going up and down the street, and it doesn't even interrupt me, even when I'm making content, when I'm talking on the phone with owner operators, with drivers, with freight dispatch students, with whoever it is. So get it set up. Know that you build yourself something comfortable. I'm no special more than anybody else, and I literally, this is the way I've got my little office set up. And yeah, I know it's probably crazy, but I'm in a country where I don't have family. I've got my wife, and she's my only friend, and 4 pit bulls and an Aspen dog that's native to here. Outside that, that's it. So I hope that helps you understand. Make your place where you want to work, and I love working where I'm at. Get certified in less than 30 days, 100% possible. You got 90 days total to complete the course, with an additional, depending on the course that you're actually taking, another 9 to 15 months to actually do the continued webinars for the mentorship for the problems that you may or may not have. A lot of people don't even need them, but we offer that because I don't want nobody to actually slip and fall, because a lot of people just need help and understanding what's going on in the industry, and that's what I'm here for. But obviously you got 30 days to do it, 3 times to take the test, that type of deal. But you know, if you actually have to take the test a 4th time, is $55, but we usually don't see it. Most people actually pass it in the 1st time. It ain't that difficult. If you just need to be certified and you know what you're doing, don't need the course or not, we can do a certification. It's $200. It's still the same thing. For the $200, you get 3 times to take the test, and then obviously on the 4th time it's $55. So just keep that in mind if that's all you're going to need, and you'll get a certification, and it'll have Truck Driver Nation that we certified that you were able to beat the minimum. Be able to take the test, and you pass the minimum requirements as far as knowledge base. This right here is what the actual test looked like. It's going to be different than this, but the overall scenario is a scenario-based question. It gives you the answers, multiple choice, and then obviously at the end of the test, because it doesn't provide it as the test is being taken. But once you're done, if you want the actual the correct answer and the rationale, why it was that answer, please let us know and I'll get that to you. Software. People ask about software and training you on software. We're not here to teach computer science, okay? But what we do is we have videos inside the course based on all of these platforms right here. We will show you how we use it and the parts that we use. I don't push every single button that's in the software. We only use what we need to actually make our days function day to day as freight dispatchers. That being said, please help yourself to it. If you want to press those other buttons, if you take the course, help yourself to it. But for us, we literally just teach you the basics of what we utilize. Please listen to this. This is actually important. What kind of owner operators do we deal with? We only deal with the owner operators that have their MC, their DOT, their load boards, because they're going to have their load boards, because remember, you got to have an MC number in order to be able to access the load boards. For some of y'all that didn't know that, I apologize. I shouldn't have threw that at you like you should have known. Their fuel cards, they have their truck and their trailer, insurance, base plates, and all that good stuff. Even if they're power only, I'll show you how, because we got the stuff in there inside the website that you can get them a trailer. So that being said, this is the only type of owner operators that we are focused on. Unless you go to work for a carrier that already has their own trucks and stuff, which are giving away 2/3 of your pay. But in that instance, they deal on a totally different page than what I actually teach you on how to be an independent freight dispatcher. If you want to get your own MC or DOT number, then help yourself to it. I would highly suggest against it, because people are not going to care about your MC. And if you end up getting a freight guard on it or PSP violations and stuff like that, you're going to come to regret it. But that being said, I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, please ask me at the end of the presentation. Okay, this right here is Truck Driver Nation dispatching fees. This is what I personally charge. I'm a freight dispatcher, okay? But I only do step days. But 10% if they bring me one truck, 8% if they bring me multiple trucks. This is to ensure that you understand what you're worth. You sitting in front of that computer doing all that back-end paperwork, everything really is a job. So don't think, well, this is a get rich. Yes, the money's there and it's great money, but you're actually getting paid for what you're doing. That being said, you can actually do it cheaper than this, and another way that we show you how to do it part-time, but you don't have all the responsibilities of being a full-fledged independent freight dispatcher. And obviously, as you get into the course, and if you go through the website, you'll see where we actually have that offered in there. But if you're a VIP or an elite student, then we actually give you that the access to understand how that platform works, so you can actually do this on a part-time basis or on a full-time basis. And the way that I'd usually tell people to understand how that really would work for you in a better way is actually do it on a part-time basis. And when those people build up the trust in you, they're going to actually want you to dispatch their truck on a full-time basis. Now, obviously, like I said, some will come through. They want to give you their truck on a full-time basis, and out the gate you go. But when you're actually doing it on a full-time basis and they come through, always make sure you follow the checks and balances that we're going to teach you to ensure that that is a quality owner operator that you're dealing with, and it's not just somebody coming with a bunch of problems that now they done got themselves in such a hole that they can't get dug out, and you got to make sure that you can actually dig them out if they're, because it comes in all forms and fashions and shapes, type of deal. So, but anyways, we'll cover that inside the course. But this is obviously, what you should look for when you're actually getting paid for these trucks when you're dispatching.
The golden key to freight dispatching. Why Truck Driver Nation participants succeed while other freight dispatchers fight to achieve. Confident, attention-grabbing. Let me ask you a question. What is the hardest part of freight dispatching? Is it learning how to dispatch? No. Most people can learn dispatching. The real challenge is finding opportunities, finding trucks, finding drivers, finding owner-operators, finding direct shippers. That's where most people struggle. And that's exactly why Truck Driver Nation is different. Because we don't just teach freight dispatching, we help create opportunities. And that's the golden key. Think about this. Let's say you have an owner-operator that needs drivers. Not next month, not 6 months from now. Right now. At Truck Driver Nation, we give you qualified company drivers, lease purchase drivers, and lease rental drivers. We're not just teaching theories, we're helping create solutions. Because a parked truck doesn't make money, a moving truck does. Now let's talk about owner-operators. This is where many dispatchers get stuck. They know how to dispatch, but they don't know how to find owner-operators. That's a completely different skill. Truck Driver Nation can help connect our participants with owner-operators that need your services, drivers with their own authority, drivers with their own MC numbers, drivers who need freight, drivers who need dispatching services and willing to pay for your freight dispatch skills. That's an opportunity most people spend years trying to figure out. Now let's talk about the biggest opportunity in trucking, direct shippers. Everybody talks about direct shippers. Very few people actually know how to find them. Even fewer know how to build relationships with them. At Truck Driver Nation, we help our participants connect with direct shippers and create opportunities that other dispatchers wish they had access to. Because direct shippers can completely change the trajectory of your owner-operator's logistics opportunities. So what is the golden key to freight dispatching we offer at Truck Driver Nation? It's not just learning dispatching, it's access. Access to truck drivers, access to owner-operators, access to direct shippers, access to opportunities. That's the difference. Most training programs do not even know how to do this themselves. Truck Driver Nation opens those doors with ease. Anyone can sell a course, anyone can sell information, but information alone doesn't create success. Opportunities create success. And that's why Truck Driver Nation continues to stand apart. Because we don't just teach freight dispatching. We help connect participants with truck drivers. We help connect participants with owner-operators. We help connect participants with direct shipper opportunities. That's the golden key. That's the advantage. That's why Truck Driver Nation participants continue to succeed. The training gets you started. The golden key changes everything and turns into the golden bullet.
Okay, this is the freight accelerator system. And if I'm putting a special note in this, you need to really heed, okay? Because you're asking me to teach you something, and we go way beyond any ding dong freight dispatcher program because of that 30 years experience I have. But make sure you understand it's going to be very vague on what this, because we don't disclose a lot about this until you're actually one of our students. Because I'd happened to come across it, and when I realized what I could actually do that a lot of people don't even realize, I was like, man, this is a game changer. So listen to the content on this, and obviously once you get signed up, then obviously I will give you full disclosure, everything you need. There's a password that goes inside the website that gives you strictly just this point. That's not even part of the freight dispatcher program. This is a tool where you can immediately start dispatching those loads.
The Freight Accelerator System. Most people that contact us at Truck Driver Nation assume they must spend months learning freight dispatching before they begin creating opportunities. This is a common misconception. After over 30 years in logistics, we identified that new dispatchers do not always need months before starting to gain real-world exposure. What they need is a bridge between learning and doing. This is the purpose of the Freight Accelerator System. The Freight Accelerator System is available to VIP and elite students. It allows qualified students to begin gaining real-world exposure as a freight dispatcher while continuing their training. A lot of our students begin using the system within their first week. During this phase, students begin working with owner-operators on a part-time basis while still in training. At this stage, students typically earn 4 to 5% per load while they are learning the system and building real-world experience. This is designed as the entry phase of the system. The Freight Accelerator System is not a substitute for full dispatch training. Students are still required to complete all core training, including freight operations, communication, negotiation, documentation, compliance, and load management. These skills remain necessary for long-term performance and professional success in the industry. As students gain experience and established relationships with owner-operators, there is a transition point where responsibilities increase. At that stage, compensation is typically adjusted to 8 to 10% per load as the dispatcher begins handling full dispatch responsibilities for that owner-operator. This represents the full-time dispatch phase of the relationship. In most cases, this transition happens when an owner-operator recognizes consistent performance and makes a direct request, such as, "You have been dispatching my loads part-time. Can we move me to where you are dispatching my trucks full-time?" That is the point where the relationship shifts from part-time support to full operational management. The system is designed to bridge the gap between training and real-world applications. It allows students to develop communication experience, industry awareness, and operational confidence while continuing their coursework. In the freight industry, relationships are a key driver of long-term success. Consistency, communication, and reliability often determine whether a dispatcher grows into a long-term partner with an owner-operator. Completion of the full dispatch training is still required to operate at a professional level. The Freight Accelerator System provides early exposure. The dispatch training provides an operational foundation. Access to full system details is provided only to VIP and elite students after enrollment. This structure is designed to combine structured education with practical exposure in a controlled environment. The process allows students to complete required training. Telegram, 4 to 5% during the learning phase when you are ready. Transition to 8 to 10% when the trucks move into a full dispatch status. Develop communication skills. Bin real-world exposure. Build long-term client relationships. The goal is to create momentum while learning, so students are not only studying the industry, but also actively operating within it. The biggest problem isn't learning dispatching, it's getting connected to owner-operators. Let's be honest. You can learn dispatching almost anywhere. Load boards, rate negotiations, broker packets, carrier setup. None of that matters if you don't have trucks to work with. No owner-operators means no real dispatch opportunity. It's that simple. This is where Truck Driver Nation is different. Truck Driver Nation isn't just about teaching dispatching. It's built inside the trucking industry itself. especially recruiting and carrier relationships. Recruiting is what we do every day. We're already talking to drivers, carriers, and owner-operators on a constant basis. And because of that, we're positioned inside the same flow of where those opportunities come from. Now listen closely to this. Did you just hear what I said? Once you've gone through training and understand dispatching at a working level, we are in a position where we can connect qualified dispatchers into owner-operator opportunities that already exist inside our recruiting network. Not theory, not guessing. Real relationships that are already active in the industry. That's the difference. Here's how it works. You learn dispatching. You learn how to work carriers, manage loads, and communicate professionally. You also learn how recruiting actually works inside trucking. Then, once you're ready and operating at a competent level, you're not left trying to figure out where to find trucks on your own. You're stepping into a system where owner-operator connections already exist through our recruiting side. And depending on your path, you can move in different directions. Work independently. Work with carriers we already interact with. Or work in alignment with Truck Driver Nation support systems. Most dispatch programs stop at training. Truck Driver Nation connects training to the real trucking network. Because dispatchers don't get paid for what they know. They get paid when they're working with real trucks, real carriers, and real freight movement. Anyone can teach dispatching. Very few are actually inside the recruiting side of trucking, where drivers and owner-operators are being actively brought in every day. That's the Truck Driver Nation difference. Learn the skill, step into the industry, build real connections, and move into real dispatch opportunities with real carrier relationships already in motion.
Okay, an important note here. Don't take too many owner-operators when you actually start doing this. When you actually start the course, we can obviously get you where you're actually already working even before you get the course finished, right? Because when you're doing this in a part-time and a full-time aspect, you're going to see that people want to work with you because they need help. But that being said, don't overflood yourself, because if you do, it's going to ruin your name. The industry is big, okay? The trucking industry is big. But if you get a bad name out there, I mean, look up Super Ego. But they really screwed over people a long time before they got noticed. But even eventually, everybody's reputation comes back to bite them. So make sure you only do what you can do. And if you're getting too big, then let us know. I mean, we got to outsource virtual assistants, freight dispatchers, people that you can pay pennies on the dollar to work for you. So just be careful with this. And remember, I'll be mentoring you. So keep in mind to keep me up to speed of where you're at, what you're doing, so you don't end up hurting your business.
What if the hardest parts of freight dispatching could be done for you? Most dispatchers spend hours searching load boards, comparing rates, tracking shipments, sending updates, and handling repetitive tasks every single day. That's how dispatching has always been done. But that's not where dispatching is going. And before you think this is about ChatGPT or some simple AI chatbot, it's not. We're talking about AI, automation, APIs, and intelligent workflows working together to eliminate repetitive work, reduce mistakes, increase speed, and help dispatchers accomplish more than ever before. Most people in the industry still don't understand how powerful this shift is. Let's clear up the biggest myth. AI is not replacing great dispatchers. Dispatching still requires communication. It still requires negotiation. It still requires relationship building. It still requires problem solving. Technology can't replace those human skills. What it can do is eliminate the repetitive tasks that slow dispatchers down. At Truck Driver Nation, we're teaching both sides of dispatching. First, we teach the fundamentals every dispatcher must know: freight operations, broker communication, carrier management, negotiation, customer service, the core skills that create successful dispatchers. But we're also teaching the transition into AI-assisted dispatching because the industry is changing whether people accept it or not. We believe technology should make life easier. You shouldn't have to work harder just because that's how it's always been done. The goal is simple. Do more, earn more, stress less, work smarter. That's exactly what intelligent automation makes possible. Imagine managing more trucks without doubling your workload. Imagine reducing hours of repetitive work every week. Imagine responding faster, organizing faster, and growing faster. The dispatchers who learn these systems first will have a major advantage over those who don't. Most training programs are teaching dispatching the way it was done yesterday. Truck Driver Nation is preparing dispatchers for where the industry is going tomorrow. We're not running from technology, we're embracing it. We're building systems and teaching our students how to use them to gain a competitive advantage. That's the difference. 5 years from now, there will be dispatchers who learned how to leverage technology, and there will be dispatchers trying to catch up. The opportunity isn't disappearing, it's evolving. The winners will be the people who evolve with it. You are not here to stay average. You are here to build income. You are here to create freedom. Learn the fundamentals, master the skills, leverage the technology, work smarter, earn more. Truck Driver Nation isn't teaching yesterday's dispatching. We're helping build the next generation of freight dispatchers.
Okay, what this is just a weekly settlement. Obviously, if you just happen to get this on this week's webinar, this one was from May the 4th to May the 10th. I don't update these all the time, but I updated it because this was a pretty good week for us, as far as what we do. And the weeks are going to be up and down. They're not always going to be consistent. But that being said, remember, I only do step decks and we are only over the road. And every one of these trucks, all these guys just own one truck. So everybody gets charged 10%. So this is one freight dispatcher handling these 7 trucks because I don't really dispatch the loads and more. I have outsourced freight dispatchers that handle all this mess for me. But that being said, we're just going to run across Terry right here real quick. So Terry, he actually did 3,200 miles for the week. He did gross revenue was 10,800. He ran 4 loads, and at $4.36, that's what he actually averaged per load. It does that mean each load made $3.36. Some of them may have paid higher, some of them may have paid lower, but the overall average was $3.36. And then obviously our rate goal met. Yes, we met them. If we don't meet them, we actually discuss with them to make sure that they're not dissatisfied, that they're looking at other options, because our owner operators can leave us at any point if we don't meet their baseline needs for their trucks. If their trucks are not profitable, then we have a problem. And the biggest thing that I look at, like I told you in the initial calculator, I have to meet at least $8,500 a week. So now you can see that I'm above that. But I always use the baseline, because if I go below 8,500, it makes us scared. We're worried that we're going to lose one of our owner operators. And everybody here has been with us over a year. But anyways, obviously we got some of their information marked out because their information is confidential, so we don't just share who they are, because we want to be able to share this content with you. But anyways, for this given week, we did a total gross revenue of $70,000, $70,200 if you want to get specific. And obviously, since we charged 10%, which obviously makes it $7,020. Now, the net carrier payout, that means after we deducted our $7,020, that's what Truck Driver Nation made. That's before we take overhead out of it. For this given instance, it's $63,180. It was paid out to the drivers. But now you have to remember something. This is only our full-time owner ops that we dispatch for them with a complete freight dispatch service agreement. The other ones that we still do that we don't put on this board, we keep them segregate because we want to make sure that we're nurturing those relationships. They actually are going to be the ones that we do part-time. We probably just giving them loads. If they take it, well, then obviously we still get paid a percentage for that. And some we charge around 5% for those loads, which I didn't show you that one. I figured this would be suffice because I don't want you to get confused. I'm trying to keep it simple because I know a lot of y'all have not been exposed to this yet. But that being said, the total miles that we covered this week was actually 22,860. And that being said, that was averaged out at $3.21 per mile. Now, that is 4 cents under each mile that we wanted to actually see for the given week for our trucks. And you'll see why, because if I take 4 cents and I multiply it times that 22,860, that's going to be about I think it's just over $900. So you just take it, just take 4 cents times the 22,000, which if, let me do it on the calculator real quick. So that would actually be, yeah, I was almost right on it. That'd be $914.40 that was short of being the $3.25. Now, that being said, we did a total of 25 loads for the week, and our rate goal achievement is 100%. So we put our rate goal achievement actually at $3. Actually, it's really I'm looking at is actually their weekly gross revenue. Did we actually make everybody make $8,500 and above? And we did. So we really, even though we didn't make it on the actual price point at $3.21 average per mile, but we did on the overall market, our team, that we dispatch, everybody got over $8,500 for the week, and obviously that satisfies the needs of those given owner operators. So you got to make sure if you're not meeting their needs, then you got a problem. But anyways, that being said, that's what this looks like. Let me think of anything else I can tell you real quick. Um, you know, I guess that's about it. But anyways, this is what your week should look like. Um, that being said, 7,000 is 100% achievable, and but remember, I do step decks. I don't do dry van, I don't do reefer, and I don't do flatbed. I only focus on step decks. So that's the reason I tell people, if you get going on this, yes, you're going to have trucks in different variations, maybe even some non-CDL, some hot shots, some sprinter vans. But that being said, just focus on the truck that you find that you feel more comfortable with and focus on that. Don't try to be a master of everything. When I'm looking at my freight, I just look on everything for step decks, or actually my freight dispatcher does, and it makes it a lot easier on him doing his job. And remember, he's still doing other stuff outside this. He's still giving loads to the truckers that I hand him on his board that may be our initial relationship. And for those, we actually keep different notes because we want to make sure that they're pleased. How many loads did they take? Where was it from? Where was it to? All that type of stuff. How, even the response times, how quick were they did they get back to us? What form of communication did we use to get the response? That type of stuff, because we're looking at the analytics of it all to make sure that they're really interested and obviously working with them. And the more we see they take from us, then obviously that's building a relationship. Now, once we build a relationship and they come on board as a full-time asset to us and our dispatch service, then we actually everybody goes to the 8 or 10%. Even though we're giving 5% because we're not really doing much for them outside giving them the freight and showing them we can get them the freight that pays. That's kind of how that transitions into that full-time relationship. But anyways, that being said, just I'm just giving you another second so y'all guys can look at this. But obviously, if you take this out, and if you want to figure out per mile, all you do is take the 10,800 divided by the 3,210, and that'll give you your $3.36 per mile if you're looking at Terry on the top row. Because each one's going to be different based on where they run. None of these guys run in the same area. Okay, the whole time I'm looking at them, and you're going to see that your address, your city, and your state, which I know my people, you're always going to be looking at that because when they go out on the road, the whole time you're going to be trying to push them back toward their house because they've got to get rest too. So don't wait the last minute till you get your trucks headed back toward the house, and it might take them 2 days to get home. They're not going to feel that neither. But we'll teach you all that on the parameters of providing good customer service to your owner operators. Okay, I wasn't going to put this one in here, but I just don't want this to confuse you. This is all the trucks that we actually do that we don't do full time. So we're not full freight dispatch service for them. What we do, we basically just find them the loads, send the loads to them, and if they want the load, then they take it, and then we make either 4 or 5%. That's what we charge. And as you're looking at this, to make this nice and short, this is the same pay period as the previous settlement sheet. But for this one, we got 17 drivers on this one. But being that, obviously, the next thing you're going to be able to notice is these are various type of trailers. We don't have them all being step decks. So it doesn't really bother me because I'm not chasing this. I mean, I've got a freight dispatcher. I outsource even my own dispatch service to folks from the Philippines, and they're good guys. They manage to do this, and they do a good job, as you can see. But that being said, that's always keep their home state on here because that's the whole point. You want to keep them moving back toward their home state because they got to have time off. Now, for these guys, I'm not nearly as worried because I'm not their full-time freight dispatcher. all that back end and worrying about when they get home, that's all on them. But I just keep their city and state where they're out of, and I don't even put their address on here. But obviously, we document how many loads we did because we want to see their interest. Now, the ones that say zero may or may not have been people that were taking home time for that week, or they just didn't take no loads from us. And then obviously, we kind of keep a general idea. All we can do on this one though is take the miles off the loaded miles of the load that they got, because we don't have we don't figure in their deadhead miles or nothing because we're not a full freight dispatch for them. We're just giving them the loads. And then the weekly gross is what they actually generated off the loads for that given week, the gross revenue, because this is what we're actually invoicing against. And then the next one's going to be what that actually ended up looking at per mile for that truck. And then we take that. Well, actually, we take the weekly gross revenue and we take that percent of it. See the dispatch fee? That's the percent that we take of the gross revenue. And then that actually ends up showing what the that actually ends up going in there and showing exactly what the dispatch earnings were. So that being said, that's what we actually earned off of each one from the weekly gross revenue. And then I've actually, you can go down here to the final overview. So yes, it's a lot, but it's actually a lot easier, but we make a lot less. Okay. So, I've got 7 trucks and I made over 7,000 for this week, but like here, you can easily see I only made 3,777 with the 17 trucks. But the thing is, I'm not doing it part-time. And between all the loads, I got my freight dispatcher looking just to throw them freight. But at the same time, I'm building up relationships with these owner operators, and they're easy to get when you're actually doing them as a part-time basis because they know they still got complete control over their truck and they're not depending on you to be their full-time freight dispatcher. Then the next thing is what we actually averaged across all the trucks that we dispatched. We actually did $3.32. And obviously, then what we do is we go down and empty miles. What we do is we don't keep track of each of their empty miles. We just do a percentage of the total empty miles. It was 12% estimated, and that's not good. It needs to be between 10 and 15%. We try to keep it down below the 10%. If we can't, it's just bad week. I mean, not a bad week. It's just bad spots where the truck was at. And obviously, the number of loads we actually did, we did the same amount just like we did on the other one. So for the same amount of loads that we did 25 on here, and I think it was 25 on the previous one. See the difference? So the average loads per truck, because we want to keep it, for us, we try to keep it above 3 loads per truck. But now this is averaging out all 17, not including the ones that we didn't load. We just go and divide it by 17. So that goes up and down, but we have 1.47 loads per truck, which is just a fraction. And you really don't have to worry about it. That's something that I look at. And then obviously, like I said, back again, total dispatch earnings, we're looking at the report summary, was the $3,777 that we made. And the high person on here actually was Eric. He actually did 4 loads. So it was almost like we was dispatching him full time. So, we didn't make a big truck. I mean, it's just like we got it, but we're not under. If I could do every truck like this, that would be a really great blessing because I'm doing the exact same thing. Now, obviously, I'm not making as much because I'm only making what Eric I made. What did we make off Eric? Give me a second. So Eric, it looks like we make 5% off him. So we made $535 off of Eric for these 4 loads. And I just do this because if I keep the high ones up here, then that means the ones I need to start going back and kind of talking to see, okay, you see how we're doing our loads, give it 2 or 3 times, and then say, do you want me to just go and dispatch you full time? And they'll make that call. And then obviously the lowest gross revenue, we actually had 5 trucks that didn't take no loads, and we don't like that. Okay. Now, obviously, we don't never like that, but that's not unusual because everybody's taking time off or they're not using us or whatever. They're just not taking a freight. And we'll kind of document that. But if we continue to see the same trucks ended up being 0, at some point we'll actually just basically I give them about 3 months. If I just see 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, because I can go back and look at the analytics on it because we got a software that breaks this down for us, then I'll just take them off the board, And if now we won't just close to say, we can't work with you. We'll just say when you actually need freight because we have to spend time on finding these loads for you and you're just not taking them, so you must be doing better than what we're doing for you. then get back with us, and then we can start sending you loads again. And usually they do. You know, you just got to be patient. We're not in no hurry. I mean, this is what we do day in and out anyway, day in and out anyway. So what big difference is it going to make?
Our new add-on to Truck Driver Nation, the Quick Qualification Course, for our VIP and elite students. I am extremely excited to announce a brand new addition to the Truck Driver Nation training platform, specifically for our VIP and elite students. Introducing the Quick Qualification Course. This course is designed for transportation professionals who already have experience in trucking, logistics, dispatching, freight brokering, carrier operations, or related fields, and do not need beginner-level training. Over the years, we kept hearing the same thing from drivers, owner-operators, dispatchers, and brokers. I already understand trucking. I just need to understand the dispatch process. And honestly, that made perfect sense. Instead of having experienced professionals sit through material they already know, we created a faster, more focused path. That's exactly why the Quick Qualification course was built. This course walks you through the full dispatch workflow: onboarding, carrier setup, load sourcing, broker credit checks, rate negotiation, dispatch operations, shipment tracking, paperwork, invoicing, and getting paid. No unnecessary theory. Just the workflow, just the process, just how everything connects. The goal is simple: help experienced professionals understand dispatch operations in the shortest time possible. If you are brand new to trucking or logistics, our full training program remains the best starting point. It builds the foundation you need for long-term success. The Quick Qualification course is not a replacement. It is a complement to our full training. It is a fast-track option for those who already understand the industry and simply want to focus on execution. At Truck Driver Nation, we are committed to improving our programs, creating opportunities, and delivering more value to our members. We do not want wasted time. We want learning. We want growth. We want action. That is why this course is being introduced to our VIP and elite students at no additional cost. Now, here's what makes this even more powerful. I broke this entire system down into 13 clear steps. This gives you the complete process, from onboarding your owner-operator all the way to collecting your money. Every single step is structured in a systematic, easy-to-follow approach. And with each step, you get specific directions on exactly how to do it, including video content showing you how to execute each stage of the process. So you are not guessing. You are not piecing things together. You are following a proven system step by step. This is what makes it powerful. Another tool, another opportunity, another step forward. A continued commitment to helping transportation professionals build skills and create income opportunities within the industry. We are proud to introduce the Quick Qualification course as the newest addition to Truck Driver Nation.
Okay, so this is the one thing that I'm going to go in. I've got to emphasize to y'all. I have no idea why everybody is missing this aspect of it, but you've got to understand you have outsourcing to you. This, for you people that are coming in new to the industry or you've already been in the industry, understand this. Why do you want to do the work? Okay, you're going to get burned out. And the number one people that we see being successful, and I'm going to say not number one because I got some awesome people that have come through our course. But you need to understand you have outsourcing available through Truck Driver Nation. Whether you need an experienced freight dispatcher, that means they're doing the freight dispatching, they're handling the owner operators, and you're just babysitting them. You're paying them like $9,600 a year, that's $800 a month, and they're doing all the work. You're still learning, and actually you're even learning from your freight dispatcher, which is a benefit to you. Yeah, excuse me for my cough. It's been dusty around here today. But anyways, another thing is virtual assistants. For a virtual assistant, you're talking about $250 to $500 a month. And they're obviously handling everything. And you can look here easily and see what they're actually handling. Now, the outsourced freight dispatchers actually do handle more trucks, whether you're going to do the which you need to obviously learn how to do integration with the API. But that being understood, obviously now you can also see what the virtual assistant does. Now the truck driver recruiters is a little bit different. They actually work through us, or you can actually hire one yourself through us. That's not a problem, but they will recruit your owner operators. That's the reason people ask us, well, do you give us owner operators? We give you owner operators through our freight dispatchers. We also show you how to get owner operators just in the general realm of the virtual world. But the biggest one is going to be your biggest benefit is going to be the truck driver recruiter. Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. But that being said, you have to understand something. Everybody's struggling that I hear they're coming from these other freight dispatching schools. They taught me this, they taught me that. Now I can't make money. There is a red flag with that. I don't know how many times I've said it through this presentation. It just is. So that's the reason you need a truck driver recruiter. And the way that I show you that to use the truck driver recruiter is you'll already have your owner operator be working them before you even have to pay the recruiter for their fee, because they work off a percentage. Now, as far as the VA and the freight dispatcher, obviously, why are you going to care? Because if you can see the food chain, you can literally take a freight dispatcher, go ahead and let them know you're going to be working with them. Wait first, talk to the truck driver recruiter, get the owner operators coming in, have the freight dispatcher lined up, and then take it and transition over to the freight dispatcher, and they'll start dispatching the loads for that truck. That makes you money without you even have to put a penny out. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, make sure you ask me. Now, a lot of this stuff, I wouldn't ask me in the webinar. You probably need to pull me aside because you got access to me through Telegram. But I hope that gets you understand. People are bypassing the outsourcing and how to use outsourcing when you're trying to learn something. That's fine. If you learn it, you grab it, you take off with it, that's fine. Absolutely. People do that every day. But for you that just feel like that you've already done courses and you just didn't get taught correctly, or you feel like it might, I'm not saying be beyond you, there's no way that this is beyond anybody. But that being said, this is another way to approach it. But even if you're an experienced freight dispatcher, you've got to see the logic behind this. This is absolutely the best way to do it. Makes you profitable, takes all the stress off your shoulders other than monitoring your people, which you can easily do through software. Even we use it to monitor our people. But that being said, I'm just throwing that in there, but we'll teach you this in the actual freight dispatch course as well. So keep that in mind.
This is our standard freight dispatcher course. This is the entry-level program and the most affordable way to get started in freight dispatching. Now let me be very clear about something. This is not a watered-down version of the training. You are still getting the full freight dispatcher curriculum, step by step, from start to finish. You are going to understand how dispatching works in the real world, how to operate in the load boards, how to work with carriers, how to structure deals, and how the entire process functions from beginning to end. The difference between this and our higher-level programs, our VIP and elite programs, is not the knowledge itself. The difference is the level of direct access and one-on-one mentorship. In the standard course, you still have access to support through our Telegram community and group guidance. You are not alone in the process. However, you do not receive the same one-on-one, high-touch coaching that is reserved for VIP and elite students, where we work more closely and more directly with individuals on a deeper level. Now, here is something most people miss when they look at this industry. Freight dispatching is not just about learning theory. It is about execution. And execution comes down to one major thing: getting owner-operators and carriers to actually work with you. So inside this program, we don't just teach you dispatching. We also show you how to find and onboard owner-operators, how to communicate with them, and how to structure relationships so you can actually start moving freight. If you need additional support in that area, we also show you how we recruit owner-operators ourselves using multiple proven methods. In some cases, we can also provide recruitment support to help you build your initial base of drivers and owner-operators faster. On top of that, we also show you how to build out your support system. That includes access to outsourcing solutions such as virtual assistants, VAs, to handle non-essential daily tasks, experienced freight dispatchers with 5 to 12 years of experience, truck driver recruiters who specialize in sourcing owner-operators for your operation. And if you grow to the point where you need a recruitment system built specifically for your business, we also show you how to implement that structure as well. The goal is simple. We are not just teaching you how to understand dispatching. We are showing you how to actually build a functioning dispatching operation, whether part-time or full-time. Now let me be honest with you. At $650, this is one of the most accessible entry points in the industry for this level of training. Most programs in this space charge significantly more and still leave you confused about how to actually get started. And that's the #1 complaint we hear from people who come from other courses. I took a dispatching course, but I still don't know how to get started. That does not happen here, because we don't just teach you information. We show you how to apply it in real time so you can actually move forward. And the reality is this: you can learn this part-time while keeping your current job, or you can transition into it full-time once you build momentum and confidence. There is no pressure to rush. You move at your own pace. But the students who succeed are the ones who apply what they learn. Grau, let me make this very clear so you understand the full picture. Inside VIP, you are not just getting the standard freight dispatcher course plus support. You are stepping into a more advanced system designed for execution, structure, and scale. First, you still get everything inside the standard course: full curriculum, step-by-step training, load boards, carrier onboarding, deal structure. The full foundation is still there. Nothing is taken away. But VIP expands that foundation. In VIP, you also get access to additional systems that are not included in standard. A quick qualification system to help you get operational faster. Advanced tech stack tools we normally value at around $650 on their own. AI and automation systems that reduce manual dispatch work. And operational recruiting support for owner-operators and drivers when needed. And I want to slow down here for a second, because this is the part most people misunderstand. We don't just teach you how to dispatch. We also help you actually build the operation. That includes helping you recruit owner-operators when needed, so you are not stuck wondering where the trucks come from or how to start getting carriers. That part is already part of the system. Now here's what changes everything. These systems are not just tools. They directly affect how much you can actually handle. In plain language, you do less manual work. You stay more organized. You make fewer mistakes. And you can manage more trucks without increasing your workload at the same rate. Less stress, more structure, more capacity. And this is where VIP really matters. Because instead of being capped at doing everything manually around 8 to 10 trucks, you can realistically scale into managing 15 to 18 trucks as your systems and structure improve. That means more volume, more consistency, and significantly higher earning potential. That's the part most programs never explain clearly. It's not just about learning dispatching. It's about increasing your operational capacity without increasing your burnout. And we don't leave you after training wondering what to do next. We show you how to apply it. We guide you through execution. And we help you bridge that gap between learning and actually running the system. Now, I want to be very clear. Everyone still gets the standard course foundation. But VIP adds layers on top of that foundation designed for faster execution, better structure, and less friction in real-world dispatching. This is why many students do not stay in standard long. Not because it is incomplete, but because they realize there is a difference between information and execution with support behind it. Now let's talk about investment. The VIP Freight Dispatcher course is $1,575 total. If you choose Afterpay, you can split payments every 2 weeks, depending on your arrangement with them. Afterpay handles the payment structure independently. So the real question is simple. Do you want only the foundation, or do you want the foundation plus the systems, recruiting support, and structure that help you actually scale faster and operate at a higher level? There is no pressure, but there is a difference between learning the work and building a system that lets you grow it. When you choose the Elite Freight Dispatcher program, you're automatically receiving everything included in both the standard and VIP programs. But Elite was never designed for people looking for the minimum. It was designed for people who want the fastest path to getting fully operational and positioned for long-term growth. The total investment is $3,975. What makes Elite different isn't simply additional training. It's access, it's implementation, it's direct guidance, and it's the ability to learn from strategies, systems, relationships, and opportunities that are not discussed in the standard training environment. As an Elite participant, you'll receive significantly more one-on-one assistance throughout your journey. Instead of trying to figure everything out on your own, you'll have direct access to guidance that helps you avoid common mistakes, accelerate your progress, and move forward with greater confidence. Elite participants also receive a custom agency build-out, including branding, logo creation, website development, professional email setup, forms, documents, and operational infrastructure. But that's only the beginning. One of the most valuable advantages of Elite is learning how to scale through delegation and outsourcing. Many dispatchers eventually discover that their biggest limitation isn't finding opportunities, it's time. That's why Elite includes assistance with locating and interviewing an outsourced freight dispatcher, allowing you to leverage support systems that most people never learn how to build properly. You'll also receive advanced recruiting support, owner-operator recruiting resources, and access to strategies that help you create opportunities faster than traditional approaches. In addition, you'll gain access to advanced marketing concepts, social media growth strategies, relationship-building techniques, lead generation methods, and communication psychology that can dramatically improve your ability to attract owner-operators and industry connections. Many of these concepts are not covered publicly because they come directly from real-world experience, strategic partnerships, and years of operational development. Elite participants are often exposed to opportunities, resources, and professional relationships that extend far beyond traditional freight dispatch training. You'll learn how experienced operators think, how successful teams leverage systems, and how to identify shortcuts that can save months or even years of unnecessary trial and error. This is one of the reasons many Elite participants eventually develop professional partnerships, referral relationships, and collaborative opportunities with individuals already operating at a high level within the transportation industry. The goal of Elite is not simply to teach you freight dispatching. The goal is to help you build something far more valuable: a complete operation, a complete support structure, a complete roadmap, and a level of access that simply isn't available through traditional training alone. For many participants, the value of a single connection, a single shortcut, a single recruiting opportunity, or a single strategy learned through Elite can exceed the entire investment. That's why so many people who compare the available options ultimately choose Elite. They recognize they're not simply paying for information. They're investing in access, implementation, relationships, support, speed, and opportunity. If you're looking for the most complete experience available through Truck Driver Nation, the Elite Freight Dispatcher program represents the highest level of training, support, guidance, and implementation we offer. This is the top-tier path. This is Elite.
This has to do with the forms of payments that we have at Truck Driver Nation that allow you to pay for your course, depending on the course you're picking. Obviously, most people go with Square. They use Afterpay. Next thing, if you don't want no transaction fees, use Zelle. The other platforms, everybody's familiar with them, so you know what they require and you know the transaction fees that go through them. But the problem is, We have a transaction fee for all those because everything goes through Square because that's our point of sale system. So be advised, if you don't want transaction fees, please go through Square. The majority of people use Afterpay, which is obviously the best one that we have to offer. We do have some other alternative ways of paying inside there once you click on it. And so please take a close look at everything so you can decide what works best for you when purchasing your program. Okay, so you know you want to come to Truck Driver Nation. So how do you get started? First, you're going to go to the website, truckdrivernation.com. You're going to go over to the pay portal. There's a lot of choices outside. This webinar just covers our 3 choices, our 3 course levels, okay? There's other stuff in there. But the biggest thing you want to do is pick out which course you want, click it, pay for it. Then what you're going to actually do, the back office is going to see that. They're going to send you the contract so that way we are in agreement of what you signed up for, what you're getting in the package, so we don't have no difference of opinion about what it is. Because if it ain't right and it didn't happen, and pay attention to detail is my number 2 rule. My number 1 rules. Next thing, the course, everything gets turned on for you. Remember, it's self-paced, so now you're up and going. You're going to need to download Telegram onto your phone and then to your computer. That's how you have the one-on-one mentorship directly from me. Now, obviously, you still got the webinar during the week. That's where you come in and you're with a group of people, and that's where we discuss depending on whichever program you choose, depending on what we're going to actually be discussing, I'm going to be assisting you with. So make sure you get those actually done. Outside of that, let's say one-on-one sessions. Now, if you want to because we got the Telegram, that's the one-on-one as far as communicate with me all the time, okay? That's not a problem. The webinar is where you're communicating with me within it's not a classroom setting, it's where everybody comes, because this is a self-paced course, is where they come to get assistance. If you want a one-on-one meeting with me, we actually it's a fee charge because my time is worth money, that type of deal. So you go back into the pay portal, you can pay, I think it's 1 hour, I think it's $125 an hour, and that way we got a one-on-one. But when you do that, make sure you have every question you got written down. Do not come in there, because I get people that come into it, they decide they really want to talk to me one-on-one, because I actually do talk to you guys one-on-one without charging from here to there, but it's no guaranteed. If you do that, that means you bought my services for me to actually help you. But that being said, in there, I get people coming in and they don't have their questions ready and they're just all over the place. And now they're saying, well, I didn't get what I paid for. I gave you the answers to what you asked me for. So keep that in mind. Always keep a note, a pad of paper, a legal pad with a pen. Even I use them, okay? There's no way to retain everything that that we've talked about, that you've heard in life, unless you have a chip implanted in your head, and we're not quite there yet, okay? But anyways, that's how this is covered. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, if you want direct access to me, you see the QR code for Telegram. That's the one you want to take a picture of or use your little QR scanner. You do that one. Actually, this can be found in Truck Driver Nation under the home page. The rest of these QR codes, obviously you can see what they do. You're more than free to, obviously go to our TikTok, WhatsApp, and all that good stuff. But if you need to get a hold of me, this is absolutely the best way to get a hold of me directly. The phone lines just have too many phone numbers coming in on them. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for attending the webinar. We're fixing to transition over into the Q&A session. If you're heading out, like I said, I appreciate it. Make sure to go to Truck Driver Nation. If you want to reach me personally, go in there, hit the QR code on the Telegram. If you're ready to sign up, then I can go in there and obviously can answer any final questions if you're actually ready to sign up. That's what that's for. It's people ready to move forward. That's the reason we do these webinars, so it answers all your questions, and the Q&A, which finalizes any outstanding questions that you have. But outside that, here's our contact information. You know you got the QR codes. Outside that, everybody please be patient. I'm fixing to swap you over to everybody's mic is open so you can start asking your questions. Remember, everybody here is grown adults. Be respectful. Please don't try to step on each other. That does happen, but that being said, you can easily identify that. Like I said, everybody here is adults. But outside that, I sure appreciate y'all coming in if you're going to leave out. And I hope you obviously decide to choose Truck Driver Nation as your educational support or your employment if you obviously want to go to work for one of the carriers or work with us, or obviously want to do this yourself. But outside that being said, I guess that'll be it. Let's swap on over. Just stand by 1 second.